Part 8. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 71. Muzi quickly fell asleep. Incredibly fast. Maybe it's because the soul is in an unsuitable body, and the load is too heavy. Maybe just plain tired. Whether it was being frightened by Murong Cheng or cooperating with him in serving the big python, Muzi felt extremely tired. When Murong Cheng waited for her to fall asleep, he raised his arms and pulled her into his arms, letting her close to his chest. The hair is cool and smooth, the body is soft, the girl in her sleep is soft and well behaved, and she no longer barks her teeth and claws when she is awake. However, no matter what kind of her she is, he likes it. He touched Muzi's fair and delicate face, then kissed her pink and soft lips. Thinking of Muzi who warned him not to make any traces, Murong Cheng's thin lips were slightly raised, his eyes overflowed with obsession, and his chest was also full of tenderness. Next time. When the soul is healed, I must take her with me next time. However, if he wanted her to accompany him, he might have to force her to do so. If you force her, you will be disgusted by her. If you don't force her, she will never get close to him. Comparing the two, he would rather be disgusted or even hated by her than accept her away from him. Thinking so, Murong Cheng fell asleep with his arms around Muzi. When Muzi woke up the next day, Murong Cheng had already left. She sat on the bed, staring blankly at the creases around her, where the faint breath of a man still remained. She checked her pajamas, everything was as usual. Then he ran to the vanity mirror and checked his body, there was no hickey. Murong Cheng really didn't touch her. He let her go and was gone. Muzi exhaled lightly, at this moment, she really relaxed. She opened the curtains, and the golden sunlight spread into the room. It was a bright summer outside, the sky was clear, and the blue sky was clear and bright. Occasionally, birds flew across the sky, which could make people's mood soar. The colorful flowers in the garden are in full bloom in this fine weather, and the colorful butterflies are dancing among the flowers, enchanting and graceful. Everything is so beautiful and comfortable. As if without Murong Cheng, the whole world has become better. But Murong Cheng will come back sooner or later. Thinking about it this way, the joy that emerged was reduced by 3 points. Muzi thought, it would be best to convince Bai Wei to let her live in school before Murong Cheng came back. It's just that you lost your original intention. She insisted on living in Mu's house, originally for the convenience of finding the truth. And, could living on campus be able to stop Murong Cheng? After all, she is still too weak. She really hoped that when Murong Cheng left this time, he would be able to meet some beauties outside, celebrities, models, whatever, so hurry up and divert his interest in her away. After eating at noon, Muzi still used the excuse of buying a book to find an excuse to go out. She and Zhang Si made an appointment to meet at the gym they used to frequent. The first floor of the gym is a fighting training ground. When Zhang Si arrived, Muzi was sweating profusely against a sandbag. Her cheeks were flushed due to strenuous exercise, and her figure was even more slender and weak. Although her punching posture was correct, it gave people a feeling of powerlessness. Take your time. Zhang Si walked over and supported the shaking sandbag, step by step, so as not to hurt yourself. Muzi stopped, gasped, and nodded. Not strong enough. Not enough speed. The precision is not enough. This body has skills, but not enough strength to match, no wonder it can be suppressed by Murong Cheng. Muzi wiped off her sweat, thinking again, maybe she was too optimistic. Even with his previous body, he may not be able to make a comeback under Murong Cheng's hands. That guy might be at a professional level. However, there is nothing wrong with strengthening training. Muzi walked to the resting place and sat down, unscrewed the mineral water bottle to drink. Jiang Ci handed her a small USB flash drive and said, "Everything you asked for last time is here. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 72. Last time, Mu Zi asked Jiang Ci to check the list of all the people on the yacht on the day of the incident. Because it was a private party, there were no more than 30 people including the guests and the crew on board. It is not easy to screen out the murderer with this number, but it is also within an acceptable range. "I'll do a rough check first." Sitting beside her, Jiang Ci spoke bluntly, "I still think Xiao Jingjia is the most suspect, she must have done it." Holding the mineral water bottle, Mu Zi raised her head and took a sip without saying a word. Jiang Ci said, "She wants to get rid of you and replace you, and live together with Mu Zhenning." But Mu Zi shook her head, and said in a low voice, "If she was just for the man, wouldn't it be easier for us to divorce? She has been with me for 3 years, so she should be very clear that I can't tolerate sand in my eyes. Once I know that Mu Zhenning and her relationship, without her telling me, I would file for a divorce. Why bother killing people?" Jiang Ci didn't take it seriously, maybe he was dazzled by jealousy. If divorce could solve all conflicts, there wouldn't be so many women in the world seeking revenge with bottles of sulfuric acid. "I still think there should be other reasons." Mu Zi lowered her eyes and murmured, "If it's really Xiao Jingjia, then she needs to buy off the servants on the ship, but one more person knows about murder and is discovered. The risk will increase exponentially, and Xiao Jingjia can use other more subtle ways to harm me." Jiang Ci thought for a while, and said, "I'll check the recent bank statements of all the male servants on board. Buying a murderer to kill someone is nothing more than using money as a bait. If a large sum of money suddenly appears in someone's bank account, they can follow the clues to find out the real culprit. No, I'll entrust a private firm to investigate this matter." Mu Zi didn't want to affect Jiang Ci's job, and although it was convenient to use Jiang Ci's position to investigate these matters, it was tantamount to telling other people in the police station that Su Zi's death was unusual. For the time being, Mu Zi doesn't want too many people to know, otherwise it will startle the snake. "All right, if you find out anything, you must tell me." Jiang Ci suddenly remembered something and told Mu Zi, "By the way, Xiao Jingjia was recently promoted to prosecutor." "Well, I know." Mu Zi told Jiang Ci about the recent affairs of Mu's family. "Xiao Jingjia is so eager to please Mu Rongxian, I suspect that Mu Zhenning is unwilling to marry her, or, is marrying her. The will is not strong." Jiang Ci sneered, "Does he dare to marry? Unless he wants to be drowned by spitting stars. Just after his wife died, marrying his wife's assistant is foolish for others. If you wait a little longer, everyone will only know that Xiao Jingjia is a prosecutor, and no one will remember that she used to be my assistant." Mu Zi couldn't help but sigh, "I hope Xiao Jingjia can marry into the Mu family. If she only caused me to marry Mu Zhenning, then after achieving her goal, she might show her feet." "Okay, don't think about this couple." Jiang Ci patted her on the shoulder, "Come on, let's go eat something." Mu Zi nodded, and felt that thinking about these things was boring. The two came out of the gym and stood on the side of the road waiting for the bus. The traffic on the road was turbulent, and occasionally a few taxis passed by, all carrying passengers. Jiang Ci was very impatient and complained, "My car has been sent for repairs, and it is inconvenient to go anywhere without a car." Mu Zi curled up her mouth and smiled. She knew Jiang Ci very well. This woman drove very vigorously, and scratches and collisions were almost common. The car she bought was already scarred after driving it for less than a year. She was about to take the opportunity to tease her friend when a familiar face appeared in the bustling crowd ahead. Mu Zi's face changed suddenly, and she almost didn't even think about rushing over. Jiang Ci was taken aback by Mu Zi. She couldn't figure out the situation, so she hurried to catch up. "What's going on?" Jiang Ci chased after Mu Zi at the corner of the street, panting, Why did you run away suddenly? It's him, Muzi. I opened her eyes wide, still looking around. It's the mage who revived me. I saw him just now. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 73. After becoming a ghost, Muzi couldn't see the facial features of a living person clearly, but she was able to see the mage very clearly, very clearly. So Muzi has a deep memory of the mage's face. He was short, with a round face and a slightly chubby face. He looked like an unattractive half-century-old man, and when he grinned, his lower jaw's gold teeth would be exposed. Even though his clothes changed drastically, Muzi still recognized him from the crowd at a glance. She shouted loudly, attracting the attention of passers-by nearby. Zhang Ci glanced at the crowd, but didn't see any mages. The street was crowded with people coming and going, and it was impossible to tell who was who. Where is he? Where did he go? Zhang Ci asked. Muzi's eyes were blank, and his eyes lost focus. He's gone. Seeing many passers-by looking at them, Zhang Ci pulled Muzi aside and asked her in a low voice, "What's going on? What's the matter with the mage you're talking about?" Muzi didn't mention the mage to Zhang Ci. Zhang Ci only thought that a supernatural event had happened, but he didn't know that Muzi was resurrected through a well-prepared ritual. Muzi's face was full of disappointment, and she told Zhang Ci, "A man saved me. He took my body to a mage and paid a box of gold to bring me back to life." A box of gold? Zhang Ci was speechless. This man is really rich. Who is he? Muzi shook her head very discouraged. "I don't know. I saw that mage just now, and thought I could ask him about his identity, but I couldn't catch up." After all, she let out a long sigh, extremely melancholy. Zhang Ci found it incredible, and couldn't help asking, "How come you don't know who he is? Don't you have any clues? It must be someone who has a close relationship with you to resurrect you at such a high price. Think about it carefully, think." Muzi still shook her head, dejected. Zhang Ci thought for a while, then suddenly raised her fist and clapped her hands. "I know." Muzi looked up at her. "You know? I see, it's probably a victim of one of your previous cases," Zhang Ci said decisively, full of confidence, "because you brought the murderer to justice. In order to repay the favor, he tried to revive you." Subconsciously, Muzi felt otherwise. If it was just to repay her kindness, why would she kiss her? But it was a bit difficult to say, and after thinking about it carefully, she felt that Zhang Ci's words made some sense. Maybe, she came into contact with that man in the process of handling the case, and inadvertently helped him, so he fell in love with him. She has taken over countless cases, and every time a case is closed, someone will be grateful to her, and someone will hold a grudge against her. If you want to find out the identity of this person, the hope is really slim. He rescued you but didn't come to you. Maybe he was deliberately concealing his identity. Zhang Ci comforted her. "You don't have to feel disappointed, maybe he will suddenly appear one day." Zhang Ci's words made Muzi's mood slightly better. The other party has not shown up for such a long time. It is indeed very likely that it was intentional. She is grateful to this mysterious person, and she wants to know the identity of the other person in order to repay the kindness, but she does not want to embarrass the other person by the reckless investigation. Muzi was no longer depressed because of this, but she was somewhat disappointed that she couldn't figure out who the savior was. On the way home, she couldn't help thinking, why did that mage suddenly appear in the downtown area? His expression at that time seemed to be a little flustered. Who was he hiding from when he ran away in the crowd? Could it be related to that mysterious man? Muzi has a lot of things on her mind. Back at Xiaoanglu, Bai Wei was not there. Mu Ziyi was changing shoes at the entrance, seeing many dirty shoe prints on the floor, she couldn't help being stunned. Bai Wei likes to be clean and tidy, the floor is mopped twice a day in the morning and evening, how could the house be so dirty? She suddenly realized in her heart, walked a few steps up the stairs, and opened her door. Sure enough, her room was in a mess. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 74. All the drawers were opened, and everything on the table and in the cabinet was thrown on the ground, and there were traces of being trampled on. Musa checked it again, as she expected, the valuables were not lost, but her medical brochures, psychotherapy records, and diary are all gone. Fortunately, she handed over those photos to Zhang Ci for safekeeping in advance, otherwise the loss would be even greater. This is Mu Rongxuan's counterattack. Sure enough, it's the behavior of officials. For people who are in the same class as me or higher than me, I am tactful and slick, and I will not offend people easily. But for those who are weaker than their own class, take direct and brutal suppression. He doesn't even bother to use his scheming. To Mu Rongxian, Mu Ziyi is so weak. What can an adopted daughter, a 16-year-old child, do? How dare you intimidate the chief of the office of the Justice Bureau? Are you insane? Mu Rongxian has 100 ways to pinch her to death casually. It's his kindness not to do anything. Mu Ziyi guessed in her heart that after consulting with a lawyer, Mu Rongxian probably found that the evidence in her hands was troublesome, so she sent someone to destroy it. This kind of burglary, as long as there is not too much property loss, even if it is reported to the police, most of it will be nothing. Mu Rongxian is confident. Mu Ziyi thought for a while in the room, then immediately went downstairs to the villa in front. She was running, and for a short distance, a thin layer of sweat broke out on her face, making her look a little flustered. Mu Ling was drinking black tea in the living room. Her delicate lips blew gently over the amber tea surface, and then took a small sip slowly. She probably felt that the sweetness was not satisfactory, so she picked up delicate tweezers, picked up a cube of sugar and put it in the tea. Not impetuous, elegant, and chaste. That firecracker like Mu Ling can be so calm and relaxed. Mu Ziyi rushed forward, and said very ridiculous words, "You steal my things. This is against the law." She glared at Mu Ling angrily like a frantic child. Mu Ling smiled, breaking the law. Who saw it? Do you have any evidence? Mu Ziyi, speak carefully, don't be like a mad dog that bites anyone you see. She called Mu Ziyi a mad dog, and Mu Ziyi really showed the unreasonable troubles of a mad dog, and said angrily, "You bully people. Don't think that I can't do anything about taking those things away, I will still sue you. If the court doesn't accept the case, I will continue to sue. I will expose you on the internet. You, your sister, and your father can't run away." Mu Ziyi finished muttering, and made a gesture to leave. Mu Ling was a little panicked. Dad said, as long as those things are gone, Musa will be a little wildcat whose teeth and claws have been pulled out, and there is no threat at all. But if this little wildcat roars wildly and attracts outsiders to stop and watch, even if there is no substantial damage to them, it will look ugly. Thinking of this, Mu Ling got up to stop Mu Ziyi. She reprimanded from above, "Have you had enough trouble? What do you think you are? An unknown bastard, our Mu family took you in, it is pity for you. You really take yourself seriously? How dare you try to sue me, are we abused and bullied? Musa, you see your position clearly. A slut should be treated like a slut, why beat you and scold you? What if I push you into a lake? You have to kneel down and thank Dade. Even if you take a layer of skin, you have to kneel down and be grateful." Such vicious words. Mu Ziyi likes Mu Ling's viciousness, if she is not vicious, How can she show her innocence? Mu-Zi smiled slightly. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu-Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Chapter 75. Mu-Zi's smile was clear and bright, which made Mu-Ling immediately vigilant. However, it was too late. Mu-Zi raised the phone in her hand, pressed the play button, and the recording was played back. A bastard who doesn't know what to call it, our Mu family takes you in, we pity you. A slut should be treated like a slut, even if I take a layer of skin from you, you still have to kneel down and be grateful to me. With this recording, even without those diagnostic records, the crime of abuse and bullying is very likely to be established. Because the crime of abuse is not limited to physical harm, but also personality humiliation and spiritual persecution. When Mu-Ling's verbal abuse reaches an order of magnitude in terms of time, and other family members of the Mu family adopt an attitude of ignoring or conniving, it will constitute a crime of abuse. 10,000 steps back, the court still does not accept the case, but as long as the recording is made public, Mu-Ling will be finished. Her moral character will be questioned by the school, and no school will be willing to admit such a student when she takes the big exam in the future. Even if Mu Rongxian sent her abroad, no one from a famous family would want to marry her when she reached the age of marriage. A rich girl like Mu-Ling has no skills, and her future is almost entirely dependent on marriage. This recording will completely destroy her. As for Mu Rongxian, he will have to endure criticism from others for the next few years. The blood on Mu-Ling's face faded little by little. She scolded so happily just now, but now she is so panicked, her hands and feet are trembling. The fat is in the fire. Mu-Ling's mind went blank, except for this one thought, she got into trouble. Her father's careful plan was completely ruined by her. Mu-Ling, I'm really sorry for you. Mu-Zi's clear and bright black eyes narrowed slightly, and a slight smile appeared, and there was a sharp edge in the smile. If you want to show off, you have to watch the timing, now it's so stupid that you can't lose money like this. She laughed at Mu-Ling. Mu-Zi, who was jumping impatiently just now, is now laughing at Mu-Ling leisurely. How did Mu-Ling not know that he was being put together? You framed me. Mu-Ling was extremely angry, and suddenly rushed to snatch Mu-Zi's phone. Mu-Zi easily grabbed Mu-Ling's hand. It's because she is weak and incompetent that she can't beat Mu Rongqian. If even a little girl like Mu-Ling can't beat her, then she is simply useless. Mu-Ling's eyes were red, and she desperately wanted to withdraw her hand, but Mu-Zi's hand was extremely strong, and she kept tightly clamping her wrist. The more she struggled, the tighter Mu-Zi clamped down, her bones felt as if they were about to break. Mu-Zi, Mu-Ling yelled frantically, having nothing to do. Mu-Ling, instead of yelling and yelling here at this time, you should think about how you should explain to your father when he comes back. Mu-Zi smiled, talking and laughing calmly. 2 million. The tuition fee is the same as the pink Hummer at home, otherwise, you can enjoy the headlines in a few days. Mu-Ling was extremely angry, but at the same time, Mu-Zi's words were like a bag of ice water, which poured her down hard, making her whole body cold. If her father finds out, because of her recklessness, everything will be in vain. Mu-Ling was stiff all over. Mu-Zi let go of her, turned and left. Coming out of the retro and beautiful villa, walking on the winding cobblestone road, the orchids on both sides are verdant and dark green, the white onion orchids are blooming beautifully, and the fragrance of flowers is light and quiet. Mu-Zi's pink lips were slightly raised, her steps were light and her mood was quite happy. If Mu Rongxian's simple and rude method is used to deal with other people, it will indeed work. But it doesn't mean much to Mu-Zi, because her real cards are those photos. Mu-Zi took a photo in the dark, just take out a random one, and it will destroy Mu Rongxian forever. But she doesn't want to take it out yet, it's not worth it for such a small matter. How can you kill a chicken with a sledgehammer? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 76. I returned to Xiaoanglu, but Bai Wei hadn't come back yet. It's not surprising, if Rongxian planned to enter the house to find something, he would definitely try to distract Bai Wei. I took a sponge mop and wiped off the shoe prints on the floor. If Bai Wei knew about this, it would have no effect except to make her worry for no reason. Bai Wei is too kind, too weak, and too easy to fool. When Rongxian casually said that a thief broke into the house, Bai Wei would believe it. I didn't want to make this mother more troublesome. She dragged the dining room and living room on the first floor, and then went back to the room on the second floor to clean up. She didn't care about losing the medical booklet and diagnosis records, but she felt a little guilty for losing the diary. Just like those fluorescent paintings on the wall back then, the diary recorded every process of I being bullied, as well as her hatred for the Mu sisters. Of course, Rongxian would not keep this kind of thing in his hands, and would definitely destroy it together with other evidence, and wipe it out thoroughly. Maybe, she should avenge I and let Mu Ling and Mu Yun taste the bitter fruit. I pondered deeply. Right now is not the time, wait for her to find out the truth, then seek justice for the original I. After cleaning the room roughly, and changing the sheets and quilts again, I went downstairs with a mop. At this time, her cell phone rang. Only 3 people knew this phone number, Rongxian, Bai Wei, and Zhang Ci. Bai Wei's cell phone was on the coffee table, and Zhang Ci had just met her, so it was self-evident who was left. Really lingering. I cursed, and answered the phone. Because of disgust, she didn't make a sound after pressing the answer button, and her brows were slightly frowned. Zizi, the man's deep voice came over the phone, magnetic and ambiguous. I resisted the urge to hang up the phone and asked, "What's the matter?" Mu Ling brought people here, what did they take away from the house? Rongxian asked her. I was slightly stunned, and then his heart was like a mirror. It must be Rongxian who pressed the surveillance cameras inside and outside the small foreign building. He called up the surveillance video just now and saw the scene of someone breaking into his home, so he called back to ask about the situation. And many more. He could see someone coming in, so, that means, Rongxian could also see her? He is spying on her. I's scalp was numb. She immediately raised her head and looked around, trying to find some inconspicuous pinhole camera. "Don't look for it, be careful twisting your neck." Rongxian's hoarse voice revealed a playful smile. I's movements froze. Sure enough, he could see her. This pervert. Rongxian asked her unhurriedly, "Do you want my brother to help you avenge?" His tone was lazy and wanton. "No need," I resolutely refused. There was silence on the phone. When Rongxian spoke, I hated it, but when he stopped talking, I felt flustered again. She was really afraid that Rongxian would mess around. The girl softened her tone and explained, "It's really not necessary, it's just some irrelevant things, I've already taken care of them." She heard a low voice on the phone, as if Rongxian was telling his subordinates not to go. Is he really going to do something to Mu Ling? No matter how hateful Mu Ling is, she is also his own niece. They have the same blood on them. I shuddered. She felt that Rongxian was a cold-blooded devil who acted according to his mood. She was even more afraid of him. After Rongxian and his subordinates finished speaking, they continued to tell I, "If you are wronged, call me and tell me, remember." I gave a perfunctory yes. She just wanted to end this call as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, Rongxian pretended to chat with her, and said, "Zizi is very well dressed today. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 77. What's beautiful, isn't it just a short t-shirt and jeans? She is dressed like this every day, she really has nothing to say. Muzi didn't answer, she didn't know what to talk about. Murong Chingguo said to himself, my purple is beautiful no matter what I wear. His tone was so gentle that it was almost numb, which made Muzi very uncomfortable. What is my Zizi? I am nobody's. Usually harassing her physically, but now that she is gone, she has to harass her verbally from a distance. Muzi is really fed up. It happened that Bai Wei came back at this time. Muzi hurriedly handed over the phone. Mom, brother's number. After hearing this, Bai Wei immediately burst into a smile. Murong Cheng often didn't come home at night, or didn't come home for a few days, and never said hello to her, but this time he actually called back. Bai Wei felt that his son was sensible. Bai Wei answered the phone and rescued Muzi from the invisible net. Going out for a few days? Oh, it's for the company, you're still young and it's your first time starting a business, so don't put too much pressure on yourself, Bai Wei earnestly instructed, with a loving face. You have to eat outside. Okay, rest well, don't treat your body badly just because you are young. Apparently, Murong Cheng falsely claimed to Bai Wei that he was traveling outside to start a business, but who knows what he actually did. Muzi was not interested in where he went, and wished that he would never come back. Bai Wei suddenly laughed. I don't know what Murong Cheng said again, but he coaxed Bai Wei so happily, the corners of his brows and eyes were full of joy. Your company is just starting up, it is not easy to earn some money, you should save some money, mother has no shortage of clothes, wear it, and you don't need to bring a gift back. Muzi listened to it and sneered. The mother and son chatted for a few words and ended the call. Bai Wei returned the phone to Muzi and said to her with a smile, your brother said just now that he accidentally tore your new cheongsam, and you have been angry with him. You child, keep quiet, why don't you tell mom? Are you still afraid that mom will blame you? It's just a piece of clothing, if it breaks it will break, it's okay. Muzi's expression froze slightly. She felt that she should smile, but after pulling the corners of her mouth for a long time, she couldn't laugh. She couldn't recall how Murong Cheng tore that dress. When the incident happened, she was more shocked than angry, and every time she recalled it afterwards, she would be more embarrassed and wronged. Bai Wei was immersed in the joy of her son's filial piety, and didn't notice Muzi's abnormality. She said happily, he invited Lu Jiang's master chef to come to our house tomorrow to make cheongsams for us. Your brother always spends so much. The time-honored cheongsam shop, door-to-door service is very expensive, not to mention the person hired from Lu Jiang. I said no, but he said he had already paid the deposit. Really? With a reproach in his mouth, he smiled from ear to ear. Muzi really couldn't share this kind of joy with her, so she went upstairs awkwardly. She thought, it's more important to go back to the house to check where there are cameras. Murong Cheng hung up the phone and did not put down the phone in a hurry. Swipe the screen, click a special built-in application, and immediately open the remote monitoring function. Several separate images appeared on the screen of the phone, which can be enlarged by clicking on the full screen. In the image, Muzi was standing on tiptoes, with her butt up, trying to find the hidden camera in the room. Wang Zhan was standing beside Murong Cheng, watching his heart with his nose and eyes. I thought to myself, who would have imagined that under the gorgeous and noble appearance of his boss, there is a heart of an idiot. Stalking, secretly filming, monitoring, extremely obscene and obscene. In the end, even the corpses were not spared, and his morals were so degraded that even his little brother couldn't look directly at him. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 78. Bang, bang, bang. The knock on the door interrupted Wang Zhan's inner complaints. He walked over to open the door, and the people outside said, "Mr. Du is back." Mr. Du, full name Du Hao, the owner of Yuan Feng Shui Numerology Company, is the guy who sold Murong Cheng's mobile phone chain last time. However, in their line of business, it is not popular to call them bosses, they all call them sir, as if they are a little more elegant than ordinary businessmen. Wang Zhan didn't like to see Du Hao very much, he always felt that he was not a sorcerer, but a trickster. But Murong Cheng seemed to value this person very much. This time when he came to Yingshui Bay, he even brought Du Hao here, saying that he wanted to show him Feng Shui. Wang Zhan felt more and more crisis. After Du Hao came in, Murong Cheng put away his phone. "How did it look?" he asked. Du Hao replied, "To the south of this Yingshui Bay, the strait is full of water flow, the water flows in quickly and the water flows out slowly, and the water flow forms a cornucopia of curved water in the middle. To the north, the three mountains are encircling, solid as gold, and can gather wealth. Keeping money is a rare treasure. If you can buy this place, no matter what business you do, it will go smoothly and everything will go smoothly." Wang Zhan complained, "I really know how to flatter. With the ability and influence of my family's master Rong, naturally he can make a fortune in any business. However, as the saying goes, it is good to wear thousands of clothes, but not to flatter. No one doesn't like to listen to good words, maybe this is the way of Du Hao's success." There was a faint smile on the corner of Murong Cheng's mouth, obviously he was in a good mood. Du Hao said again, "If you can place a magic weapon with great spiritual power in the middle of the three mountains, which can not only absorb blessings, but also dispel evil spirits and block evil spirits, it will be the finishing touch, perfect." As soon as Wang Zhan heard this, he knew that he was going to sell products again, and he couldn't help sneering, "You don't want to say that your company happens to have such a magic weapon?" Du Hao narrowed his eyes and smiled honestly, "Xiao Wang manages things like a god, and I do have a magic weapon in my hands. It is the sacrificial tripod of the Qin dynasty royal family. It is very spiritual, but unfortunately few people in this world are destined to enjoy it. Yes. From my point of view, Master Rong is a natural-born noble. If he has this tripod in his hand, he will be like a tiger with wings." Wang Zhan followed Murong Cheng all over the world, he had never seen a person who could show his shamelessness so frankly. "Just tell me how much it is." Du Hao smiled, 8 million. "You really dare to ask for a price," Wang Zhan said bluntly, "the objects of the Qin dynasty must be more than 2,000 years old, and they may have been rusted and rotten. How dare you sell them for 8 million? Du Hao still smiled gently, and replied unhurriedly, "Don't dare to cheat, this price is already a discount, and manager Xiao Wang must be very clear, if it is put on the auction site, there is not 100 million that cannot be won." Wang Zhan did not give in, the prices in the auction house are all inflated, and there is no market for the price. Du Hao nodded in agreement, "What you said is that such a good object can only be taken down by Master Rong." Wang Zhan was speechless. Well, the ball was kicked back by this guy again. 8 million is really nothing to Murong Cheng. The daily turnover of the first few casinos in his hands is in the hundreds of millions, but if Wang Zhan doesn't bargain, he will feel unhappy. It is cool to spend a lot of money, but if you are taken for a ride, it is a joke. Wang Zhan will never allow it to happen. Murong Cheng didn't worry about the 8 million, he lit a cigarette, and sat on the black leather chair a bit lazily, with a lonely and arrogant demeanor. Surrounded by light smoke, Murong Cheng asked Du Hao, "Did you find the item I asked you to look for last time?" Wang Zhan immediately pricked up his ears. What kind of goods? Why doesn't he know? As a confidant, there are things you don't know. Wang Zhan suspected that he was going to fall out of favor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 79. Du Hao replied with a smile, Master Rong is the favored son of heaven, he has a lot of life and good luck. It was originally an extremely difficult thing to find, but once you asked for it, I was actually found by me. Wang Zhan was anxious and wanted to ask what it was, but he was afraid that he would offend Murong Cheng by interrupting casually. At this time, I heard Du Hao eloquently say, I have a friend who has practiced Taoism for several years. He has been looking for famous mountains and historic sites in these years, and he has quite a lot of knowledge. He told me that there is an unknown village in the southwest, where the villagers worship a kind of bird, called the three-eyed crow, is a ghostly thing. If it can be kept around since childhood, it is perfect for nourishing the soul and guarding the soul. Three-eyed, God crow, Murong Cheng thought about these words slowly. Crows are originally creatures with a lot of yin energy. It is rumored that they can recognize yin energy, so they like to hover around people who are dying. There are also folk legends that say that crows are the guides of dead souls. Du Hao smiled gently, and carefully considered for Murong Cheng, you want to nourish your soul, it's not enough just to gather yin qi at home, that lady can't stay at home forever, she always has to go out, and when she goes out, anything can happen. If you can keep a three-eyed crow with you, no matter where you go, you don't have to worry about it. What he said was so mysterious that Wang Zhan couldn't help asking, the crow you mentioned really has 3 eyes? Du Hao shook his head, no, but there is a bunch of white hair on his forehead, which looks like an extra eye at first glance. Wang Zhan frowned when he heard that, a pinch of white hair? How dare you show off in front of Master Rong with just such a pinch of hair? Du Hao explained solemnly, it's normal for us mortals not to see the mystery. Wang Zhan choked on his words. Du Hao looked at Murong Cheng with a sincere expression on his face, Master Rong asked me to find something to nourish my soul. I asked all the friends I have made friends with over the years, and the answers were all kinds of things. Jade, spells, witchcraft, all kinds of methods, but most of them are methods that harm one's own fortune, wealth, and longevity. Only the three-eyed crow, born with a ghost, is the most suitable to be a soul pet, and will not have any negative impact on others. I really think about Rong yet. In order to revive Suzy, Murong Cheng has sought out many capable people and strange people, and he understands a little bit, but all things that can nourish the soul are nourishing yin and suppressing yang, so some disadvantages cannot be avoided. For example, he arranged the back garden of Mu's house like a cemetery, and specially brought in a boa constrictor to strengthen his yin. However, a living person is full of yang, and living in such a place for a long time will inevitably cause problems, so he has to wear Kunlunhong to offset the impact. But the three-eyed crow that Du Hao was talking about was actually beneficial and harmless. Murong Cheng took a puff of his cigarette, the mist filled the air, and his handsome face revealed a gloomy and cold look. Make an offer after a while, he said. Du Hao waved his hand lightly, I don't dare to rely on the crow to make money, I'm afraid it will damage my morality. If Master Rong really wants it, I can ask a friend to send one. Wang Zhan was surprised that the magic stick didn't want money. In his heart, Du Hao is a salesman dressed as a master of numerology and metaphysics, selling products whenever he sees an opportunity, annoying like flies. Murong Cheng fixedly looked at Du Hao, and after a while, smiled faintly. When the project of Yingsui Bay is completed, you can send the tripod over. Du Hao said yes, it must be sent on an auspicious day, and I dare not delay Master Rong's important event. Wang Zhan was dumbfounded. What does this mean? So the 8 million was actually a bird with a pinch of white feathers on its head. The most expensive purple blue macaw is only a few 100,000. He can also talk, sing, and tell jokes. What can you do with a crow? It is said that it can keep the soul and nourish the soul, but the ghost knows whether it will work or not. Only ghosts really know. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 80. Because of the surveillance camera, Muzi didn't sleep well all night. She found a pinhole camera behind the door and on the ceiling light in the bedroom. It is very precise and small, only the size of the fingernail of a little finger. If you do not search carefully, it is difficult to find clues. I found 2 cameras. Are there any other cameras in the room now? Muzi lay on the bed and couldn't sleep. She turned over and opened a pair of big black eyes in the darkness. Look at me. Thinking of a pair of eyes watching her in a dark place in the empty room at this moment, Muzi shuddered. She felt so unlucky. It was such a lucky thing to be resurrected from the dead. In the words of my grandmother, those who survived a catastrophe were those with deep blessings, but where did her blessing go? Why did she meet Murong Chang? Muzi loathes and fears Murong Chang. It didn't reach the level of hatred, maybe it was because he hadn't touched her final bottom line, but Muzi felt that, if this continues, she will hate him sooner or later. How can I get rid of him? Muzi murmured to herself. Full of worries, she fell asleep in a daze. This feeling is not at ease. She was quickly awakened by the movement outside. Ironically, after her rebirth, the few nights when she slept most peacefully were in Murong Chang's arms. Muzi shook her head vigorously, cleared away distracting thoughts, and decided not to think about that man anymore. Putting on her slippers and getting out of bed, she opened the window. The noise came more clearly, accompanied by the sound of something breaking, and the cry of a girl. On the bluestone pavement flickering by the lights in the garden, the servants and security guards all moved forward. The movement outside the house woke up Bai Wei. Muzi heard Bai Wei open the door, passed by her room, and went downstairs. Her steps were slow but hurried. Muzi leaned against the bay window and waited for a while, then saw Bai Wei walking out of the house in a conservative Chinese-style pajamas, and stopped to watch. Bai Wei called a passing servant to stop. Her soft voice was full of sleepiness and concern. Is there something going on ahead? The servant said, Mr. Rongxian is losing his temper and seems to have hit Miss Muling. Bai Wei immediately let out an exclamation. From Bai Wei's point of view, no matter how big a mistake a child makes, he can't hit him, let alone Muling is still a girl. How precious is a girl's face. She pretended to try to persuade the fight, and she couldn't sit idly by anyway, but when she thought of her embarrassing status, she hesitated. The servant said kindly, Mrs. Bai, don't go, Miss Mu Yun and the housekeeper have already gone to persuade you. Bai Wei nodded and sighed, then I won't go there, you can go and see for me. Alas, school is about to start now, but please don't get any injuries on the child. No matter what happens you can't beat the child. Rongxian is usually a steady person, why is he so impulsive today? Muzi, who was by the window on the second floor, stared coldly at the brightly lit villa in front of him, without saying a word. Mu Rongxian is indeed stable, but being stable doesn't mean he has no temper. He loves power, fame, and money, and lives a secular and old-fashioned way. Today, Muling hurt his face and made him lose money. It's no wonder that Mu Rongxian is not angry. However, Muzi did not expect that he would beat his daughter ruthlessly. Thinking that the scene must have been very lively, Muzi's heart moved slightly. She turned around and lay down under the bed to look around, pulled out a telescope, and looked at it by the window with great interest. However, the originally wide field of vision was blocked by a big locust tree. Muzi remembered that this was the tree Murong Chang planted. This man was simply baffled. He brought a few trees from outside and planted them in the 4 directions of the small Western-style building. Now the lighting in the house was affected. Muzi threw down the binoculars in her hand sullenly, and fell asleep. She just felt that everything related to Murong Chang made her upset.